chosen ones, you're being controlled by these 7 silent energy cycles. You ever wake up and feel like your soul is screaming but your body is silent? Like something ancient inside you is desperately trying to break through, but you can't figure out why you're stuck. Why your life seems to move in circles, even though you're doing everything right. If you're a chosen one, you felt this, not once, not twice, but over and over. And the truth is, you're not stuck because of bad luck or poor choices or lack of discipline. You're stuck because you are being controlled not by governments, not by toxic people, not even by your past. You're being controlled by 7 silent energy cycles that are invisible to the average person. But you're not average, are you? These cycles are ancient. They've existed before language, before culture, before even memory. They are embedded into the energetic grid of this planet like malware in a system. And because you're a chosen one, because you came here to shift timelines, to break karmic patterns, to birth new realities, these cycles target you the most. Why? Because your energy is disruptive. Your very existence threatens the status quo. But here's the catch, they don't target you with noise. They target you with silence, with patterns, with routines so subtle, so familiar, that you start to believe they're you.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let me ask you a question that cuts to the bone. How much of what you call your personality is actually just programming? How many of your preferences are trauma adaptations? How many of your flaws are actually symptoms of energy that doesn't belong to you but lives through you? The first silent energy cycle is the loop of lack. It whispers through every corner of your life. It's not just about money, it's about your self-worth. You may find yourself constantly doing more, giving more, striving harder, but still feeling like it's never enough. You meditate, you visualize, you affirm abundance, but nothing sticks. That's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because you're trying to manifest from inside a cycle designed to cancel every manifestation. This cycle convinces you that you must earn your worth, that you must prove your value. It hides in your generosity. It hides in your guilt. It hides in your fear of being seen as selfish. And so, you stay stuck not because you're broken, but because you're loyal to a pattern that was never yours to begin with. Then comes the cycle of isolation. This one is deadly because it masquerades as independence. You start to believe that no one understands you, that no one can hold your truth, that every connection ends in betrayal or abandonment. And so you retreat. You convince yourself that solitude is your sanctuary. But inside, you're starving for connection. And the more you isolate, the more disconnected you feel, not just from others, but from yourself. Because this cycle doesn't just cut you off from people, it cuts you off from your guides, from your intuition, from source. You think you're protecting your peace, but really, you're locking yourself inside a prison of energetic starvation. The more awakened you become, the more this cycle tries to convince you that being alone is the price of truth. But that's a lie. Chosen ones are not meant to walk alone. We are meant to lead alone, see alone, initiate alone, but we are not meant to live alone. That's the trap. The third silent cycle is the loop of delay. You know this one intimately. It shows up as procrastination, perfectionism, endless planning. You have the vision, you feel the calling, but somehow the timing is never quite right. You wait for the sign, for the alignment, for the confidence, but it never comes. Why? Because the cycle feeds on your hesitation. Every time you delay your purpose, a part of your spirit dims. This loop doesn't want you to fail, it wants you to never begin. Because when you begin, you shift timelines. You awaken codes in others. You ripple through the matrix. And that terrifies the system. So it wraps you in a blanket of "I'm just not ready yet." But readiness is a myth. The only way to be ready is to move. And every time you don't, the delay deepens, until one day you wake up and realize years have passed and your soul still aches. Then there is the cycle of emotional recycling. This one is brutal. You keep healing the same wounds, looping through the same inner child pain, revisiting the same heartbreaks in slightly different forms. You think you're making progress, but really, you're stuck in a karmic treadmill disguised as shadow work. This cycle makes you feel like healing is your identity, like pain is your home. But healing is not meant to be forever. There is a point where you must rise, where you must say, I've harvested the wisdom, I've mourned the loss. Now I build. But the cycle of emotional recycling keeps you digging up graves instead of planting seeds. It convinces you that you're being deep when really you're being distracted. There's a difference between depth and drowning, and chosen nuns were not born to drown. So I ask you, what is the payoff of your pain? What identity have you built around suffering? Because if you don't answer that question, the cycle will keep answering it for you. Each of these cycles is like a layer of spiritual fog. And the more sensitive you become, the more you feel them, but the less you can explain them. You try to rationalize what is energetic. You try to heal what is meant to be transcended. And in doing so, you burn out. You begin to wonder if awakening is just suffering with fancy language. But I promise you it's not. There is a way out. But first, you must see the trap for what it is. Because the next 3 cycles are even more subtle. They don't just drain your energy, they reshape your identity. And they do it so quietly, you don't even notice the theft. Hijacked identity, how 3 hidden energy cycles rewrite who you believe you are. There's a moment on the chosen one's journey when the truth becomes so loud that it can no longer be ignored. You look around and everything appears normal, yet something inside you feels deeply off, like you're living in a life that was scripted for someone else. You dress the part, speak the part, maybe even succeed in ways others celebrate, but deep inside, there's a void. A strange hollowness that no achievement, no relationship, no spiritual practice seems to fill. That's the sign. That's when the next layer of control reveals itself. Because beyond the cycles of lack, delay, isolation, and emotional recycling, there are 3 more energy cycles that don't just drain you, they reshape you. They hijack your identity and replace your authentic self with a version of you that is more predictable, more manageable, more silent. The 5th silent energy cycle is what I call the cycle of constructed self. At first glance, it looks like growth. You start to shift. You change your language. You become more aware of your thoughts, your habits, your patterns. But somewhere along the way, you begin to construct a version of yourself that is still based on external expectations. You become a spiritual person. You wear the right crystals. You talk about vibrations. You meditate. You heal. You do all the right things, but you don't feel alive. You feel approved. You've traded your truth for an identity that is palatable, polished, acceptable. This cycle is subtle because it rewards you. People applaud your transformation. They say you're glowing, you're wise, you're inspiring. But deep down, you know you're acting. Not inauthentically, but incompletely. You've been conditioned to believe that certain parts of you, your rage, your ambition, your raw instincts must be suppressed in order to be spiritual. But that's not ascension. That's assimilation. And the more you polish yourself, the more you forget who you were before the world taught you how to be lovable. The truth is, your most powerful self is not the one who is most liked. It's the one who is most real. And the constructed self cycle is dangerous because it makes you believe you found yourself, when really, you've just built a cage out of gold. And the longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to remember what your soul actually sounds like. That leads us into the 6th energy cycle, the cycle of energetic inheritance. This one doesn't begin with you, it begins with your lineage. your ancestors, your bloodline. This cycle is the silent agreement you never made but still live by. It's the vibration of your mother's suppressed voice, your father's unhealed grief, your grandmother's fear of being seen. It's the generational trauma encoded into your DNA, passed down like a family heirloom. And as a chosen one, you are not just sensitive to it, you are the one who came to end it. But here's the trap. In trying to heal your family, you unconsciously carry their karma as if it were your own. You take on burdens that don't belong to you. You become the emotional caretaker, the black sheep, the misunderstood one. And you begin to confuse your identity with your ancestral assignment. Let me ask you something that might unravel centuries of programming. Are you living your life, or are you living your grandmother's unlived dreams? Are your fears even yours, or did they enter your field before you could speak? Energetic inheritance is not just emotional, it's vibrational. And unless you become radically aware of it, you will keep playing out patterns that were never yours to begin with. You'll sabotage love, block abundance, fear success not because you fear it, but because someone before you did, and their fear became your framework. But you can break it, not by rejecting your bloodline, but by honoring them enough to evolve. By saying, "This ends with me not out of blame, but out of love." That's what chosen means. It means your soul said yes to a task others could not finish. And yes, it's heavy, but it's also holy. Now, the seventh and final cycle is perhaps the most terrifying because it's the most invisible. The cycle of false timing. This is not just about delay, it's about artificial alignment. You get opportunities. Doors open, but something always feels slightly off. You meet people who seem perfect at first, jobs that look aligned, projects that feel exciting. But over time, they drain you. They don't grow you. They contain you. You find yourself stuck in situations that look divine but feel suffocating. That's the false timing cycle. It's when the matrix sends you almost right things at almost right times to prevent the exact right thing from ever finding you. This cycle is brutal because it rewards you just enough to keep you from leaving. It gives you breadcrumbs instead of the feast. And you convince yourself to stay because at least it's something. But chosen ones were not born to settle. You were designed to walk a path so unique, so specific, that anything less than truth will feel like poison. And yet, the world will call it success. That's the trap. So how do you break this final cycle? You trust your body more than your mind. You listen to your inner knowing even when everything outside you says stay. You stop negotiating with your soul. Because your destiny is not found in comfort, it's found in alignment. And no amount of logic can override the voice inside you that says, "This isn't it." So now I ask you, who are you beneath the programming? Beneath your spiritual identity, your family patterns, your conscious mind? Who is the one watching all this happen? That's the real you. And if you can stay with that awareness long enough, the cycles begin to unravel. Not all at once, but thread by thread. In the final part, we go deeper. We reveal how to break these cycles not just temporarily, but permanently. Because seeing the trap is not enough, you must walk out of it. Escape the grid, how to permanently break the 7 silent energy cycles and reclaim your power. Once you've seen the cycles, you can't unsee them. That's the beginning of liberation, but not the completion. Awareness is powerful, yes, but it's not the cure. It's the door. And doors don't save you, they invite you to walk through, to change. And change, especially for a chosen one, is not cosmetic. It is cellular. It is spiritual surgery. Because these cycles don't just live in your habits, they live in your nervous system, your breath, your vibration. To break them, you don't just need to think differently. You need to become someone who no longer resonates with the frequency of control. That's the real escape, when your energy no longer matches the vibration of your former prison. So how do we begin? The first step is radical interruption. Not gentle shifts, not slow growth. Interruption. You must shock your own system out of its trance. That means doing things that feel deeply uncomfortable but unmistakably alive. It means speaking when your voice trembles, saying no when your body screams yes out of habit, leaving situations that look fine but feel wrong. You don't outgrow energetic cycles by analyzing them, you outgrow them by disrupting your participation in them. And yes, it will feel like death at first. It is a death. The death of the version of you that was built to survive in captivity. One of the most powerful ways to create this interruption is to change your environment, not just physically, but energetically. The spaces you live in, the people you interact with, the content you consume, they all reinforce your current vibration. If you want new cycles, you need new inputs. Spend time in spaces that feel like the future version of you. Not the version that's just a little more healed, but the version that is wildly free. That version already exists. You just haven't met them consistently enough to remember who you are. Change your space, and your space will change you. Next, you need to reclaim your sovereignty over time. The cycle of delay and the cycle of false timing both rely on one thing: your disconnection from divine timing. Most chosen ones are either rushing or waiting, and both are traps. Rushing comes from fear of missing out. Waiting comes from fear of messing up. But divine timing is neither rushed nor delayed. It is responded to. You must learn to feel when something is truly aligned, not just mentally, but somatically. Your body knows. Your chest tightens when something is off. Your stomach knots when something is wrong. Your breath deepens when you're near truth. Start listening. Your calendar will lie to you. Your to-do list will lie to you. Your intuition won't. Another essential key to breaking these cycles is energetic honesty. You must stop pretending. Stop pretending you're okay when you're not. Stop pretending something is working when it's clearly draining you. Stop pretending you've forgiven when really you're still bleeding. The cycles feed on your dishonesty with yourself. Every time you lie to yourself to maintain peace, you prolong the war inside. And that war becomes fatigue. And that fatigue becomes disconnection. And that disconnection becomes apathy. That's how the cycles win. Not through violence, through silence. So ask yourself, where am I still lying to keep things from falling apart? What truth have I buried to maintain an identity I've outgrown? The answer to those questions will lead you to your freedom. But perhaps the most important tool in breaking these cycles is ritualized embodiment. You cannot think your way out of energy traps. You must move your way out. Dance, breathe, scream, shake, sweat, cry, pray, fast, walk. Immerse yourself in practices that return you to your body. Because your body is the gateway. It holds the codes. It remembers what your mind has forgotten. You are not a floating consciousness. You are a living, breathing vortex of sacred electricity. And when you activate your body fully, deeply, consistently, you become untouchable to systems that rely on your numbness. Start with one daily ritual. Light a candle and speak your truth out loud. Not to anyone else, just to yourself. Declare what you're breaking. Declare what you're becoming. These declarations are not affirmations, they are spells, commands, frequencies. The more you speak them, the more your energy reorganizes itself around your new identity. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't wait for the perfect mood. Do it with trembling hands if you must. The ritual doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be real. And finally, surround yourself with people who remember who you are when you forget. You are strong enough to walk alone, yes. But you're not meant to stay alone. Healing in isolation is survival. Healing in community is rebirth. Find the ones who speak your language, even if it's in whispers. Find the ones who challenge your comfort, not your worth. The ones who remind you of your power, not your pain. You don't need many, just a few who truly see you. That seeing is medicine. So here it is, plain and clear. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are not looping because you are broken. You are caught in energetic programs that were designed to keep you almost alive. But you were never meant to live a life of almosts. You came to break these codes not just for you, but for everyone who will awaken, because you did first. In the final part, we'll go beyond escape. We'll explore how to rebuild your life on new energetic foundations that make you immune to these cycles forever. Because escaping the trap is only the beginning. What you build next is what truly determines your legacy. The new architecture, how chosen ones build unshakable lives after breaking free. Once you've broken the cycles, something unexpected happens. The silence that used to suffocate you becomes sacred. The emptiness you used to fear becomes spacious. The triggers that once ruled you no longer control your nervous system. But now comes the real question: what will you build with your freedom? Because escaping the trap is not the end. It is the rebirth. And in this new life, you're not just living, you're architecting. You're designing a reality that can hold the full weight of your power, your peace, your purpose. And that requires you to become intentional in a way most people never imagine. Freedom without structure becomes chaos, and chaos leaves you vulnerable to old patterns. So the first thing you must do is create new energetic scaffolding, daily practices, boundaries, and habits that support the version of you that is no longer surviving, but sovereign. This means redefining your mornings. Mornings are portals. The energy you enter the day with becomes the frequency of that day. So start with presence. Not your phone, not your to-do list, not the world's noise. Just presence. Breath. Stillness. Intention. Even 5 minutes of conscious silence is enough to reclaim your sovereignty. Those 5 minutes become the anchor for your new architecture. Next, you must become fiercely loyal to your authentic rhythm. The old cycles trained you to override your body's wisdom. You worked when tired. You gave when empty. You spoke when silenced. But now you must listen. Rest when your body calls for it. Move when your spirit feels stagnant. Create when inspiration arrives, not just when the clock says it's time. This is not laziness, it's alignment. And alignment creates acceleration. When you move in sync with your design, life flows. Opportunities magnetize. Effort becomes expression. You stop chasing and start resonating. But here's the deeper layer. You must now choose relationships that reflect your expansion, not your past pain. Who you surround yourself with will either reinforce the old cycles or co-create the new ones. Look around. Do your relationships challenge you to rise or sedate you into comfort? Do they celebrate your wholeness or depend on your wounds? You are now a mirror of truth, and people will either run from it or rise to meet it. Don't to keep the old connections alive. Let them fall away if they must. Because new alliances are waiting, ones built on frequency, not familiarity. You also need to cultivate a mission bigger than your healing. You weren't just chosen to break. You were chosen to build. What will you offer the world from your healed state? What legacy will you leave that echoes beyond your name? It doesn't have to be fame. It doesn't have to be a global movement. It can be a single act of truth, repeated daily, with love. That's how revolutions begin, not with noise, but with unwavering alignment. And when doubt returns, and it will remember, you are no longer the one who loops. You are the one who chooses. You choose your thoughts. You choose your focus. You choose your energy. That is your true power. The world may still try to pull you back into the old grid, but your frequency is your firewall now. Guard it like sacred ground. So I leave you with one final question, one that only you can answer, and one that will shape every breath forward from here. What would your life look like if you trusted your power more than your past? That answer is your blueprint. Now go build it.